champions? Welcome in. It's almost time.
Welcome in, everybody. It's Monday night. We are the Sports Hounds exclusively here on A2D Radio. Doug Mankiewicz, Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. If you miss anything here on A2D Radio, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast, give us a download, give us a listen. Football season is upon us. We're getting into football this week. We got AFC East stuff, Doug and his Dolphins. We got NFC East stuff with my Eagles and Brad's Giants. Each and every week, we're brought to you by Philly Sports Trips, the Philadelphia 5 for 5 sports travel company, premium travel and tailgating experience for the passionate fans of Philadelphia. Go to phillysportstrips.com. For more details, our man Vince, we got the Chiefs trip, we got the Rams trip, we got the Seahawks trip. And if you don't like flying, that's cool. We'll get on a bus. We'll take you to the Jets game in New York. One of the only Sunday 1 o'clock games on the Eagles schedule. We're also brought to you tonight by Baggio's Breads, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. We're just going to dive right into it. NFC East, AFC East, little predictions for those two glamour, at least in my opinion, glamour conferences of the NFL. Northeast Corridor, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, the Miami and Buffalo, certainly.
Why'd your voice change when you went to Miami? You went like
Miami.
You went Miami. You're like,
because it's Miami. Because you're in the Eastern. You guys are on the Eastern Conference Finals, and the stadium's half full.
Miami. We got other things to do, man.
It is. I wish I had that much to do in Miami.
I wish we had a fan base that we could actually care. That'd be cool too.
It might help the Dolphins, honestly. We're dive right into our poll question. Our poll question tonight is brought to you by FanUp. The best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily MLB contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use the promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value. FanUp, if you're not familiar, they differentiate themselves from FanDuel and DraftKings. You can pick whoever you want. There's no salary caps. Then you have your captain. That's a 1.5 multiplier on their point total. That's how you differentiate yourself. So pick whoever you want. You don't have to die for those deep sleepers like on DraftKings and FanDuel. Not everyone has time for that. FanUp's for you. Right there, A2D, 5,000 bonus points. Just for signing up, telling them you're friends with us. $50. Turn it into millions on FanUp. Our poll question tonight, diving right into the NFC East. NFC East, probably one of the most interesting divisions in football year in and year out. Guys, there hasn't been a repeat winner in the NFC East since the Eagles did it in 2004. That's kind of a statistical anomaly. So our poll question tonight, the Philadelphia Eagles will repeat as be the first repeat champions in the NFC East since 2004. Agree, disagree, let us know what you think in the comments. We'll start rattling off soon. This is an easy agree for me. And Doug, it's great having your athlete mentality on the program now, because it really opens my eyes to stuff that, I wouldn't think about as a casual fan. Really, you're a big attitude reflects leadership person. Mm-hmm. Not only is Jalen Hurts maybe the best quarterback in the league, one of them, definitely maybe the best dual threat quarterback, but he's also the best leader at the position. He's working hard. He's holding himself accountable. He feels terrible about fumbling in the Super Bowl. So I think he's coming back better and stronger than ever this year. And if the lead hoss, if he's working hard, guess who's falling in line behind him? Everybody else. I think Nick Sirianni's the same way. I've absolutely loved Nick Sirianni's mentality this training camp. The little stuff that I do pick up on Twitter. I'm not a big training camp guy. I'm not a big preseason guy. Just nobody get hurt. We'll figure it out in the season. Kind of like the first 2 or 3 games of the regular season are now kind of like de facto preseason games also, because teams just don't have their ish together because they don't go hard in training camp. But Nick Sirianni not letting this football team rest on its laurels from having such success last year, making it to the Super Bowl, being hard on them, holding them accountable. And then I think Howie Roseman, one of the best, if not the best general manager in football. You reload with Jalen Carter. You reload with Nolan Smith. You're bringing in the kind of unheralded hungry guys to play in your defense up the middle. They signed Miles Jack, Zach Cunningham, a couple linebackers this week to compete for possible playing time, whether it be behind the Kobe Dean or in front of the Kobe Dean. I don't know how it's all going to shape up. They have a great offensive line. I have absolutely no concerns about losing Shane Steichen to the Indianapolis Colts. I think Brian Johnson's going to be fine. He's been with Jalen Hurts since middle school. So, I mean, all things point to this team being really, really, really good. And, Brad, with all due respect, I do think the Giants are the Eagles' biggest competition in the East. But I think the Giants finished second. And I don't know. I'm not really feeling Dallas. Maybe I'm biased. I'm definitely biased. But I don't know. They're not paying Zach Martin, one of the best guards in the league. They're opening contract negotiations for an extension for Dak Prescott, who I don't think's that great. Tony Pollard's unproven. There's a lot of sizzle down in Big D, and I don't think there's a lot of stake. And then Washington, it's all going to depend on that quarterback. They're starting Sam Howell. We'll see. Maybe they can contend for a wild card if he's good. But all signs point to this being a really good football team in Philadelphia, and I think they will be the NFC East champions, a repeat champion for the first time since the Eagles did it in 2003 and 2004. Brad, would you like to?
No, I agree. I think the Eagles, I mean, just they have so much talent on that roster. I know they lost a lot of players. They may not go 14-3 again. That's entirely possible. They could win the division at 12-5. They're that good. They have a little tougher schedule this year, so they'll lose a few games. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, I think as far as the NFC is concerned, especially the NFC East, the Eagles are kind of up here, and everybody else is kind of down here. They are the premium cut in the division, and I think they're the premium cut in the league. As far as the Giants and Dallas, it's going to be close. I mean, if the Giants can stay healthy, which hasn't happened in a long time, but if that team can stay healthy, they're young, they're getting better. I think they made some pretty good moves in the offseason. I think this kid Jalen Hyatt is going to be the real thing as far as receivers. You know that he when he ran the 40 the other week, he actually was 0.2 of a second faster than Tyreek Hill. So the guy's got speed. Now, whether he can, he's their third round pick. Now, whether he can run patterns, like Taysom Hill, I don't know. That's going to be Tyreek Hill. Excuse me. That remains to be seen. But I'm pretty excited about what's going on. Barkley is back now. Sounds like he's got he's got himself back together again. And whatever it is, I mean, I hope everything works out. They're definitely a better team with him than without him. I don't really understand the whole thing with the running backs, but I think the Giants have a chance to push ahead of Dallas. I'm not convinced with Dallas. I'm just not. Pollard had a pretty serious injury at the end of the season. Is he going to be? Is he going to be 100% to start the season?
That's what they say.
Yeah, well, they say that, but after he gets hit for real, in game one of the regular season, what's going to happen? I'm just wondering, because when you get an injury like that, it's not necessarily what happens in preseason, but sometimes you get worn down a little bit during the season because you're not, your whole off-season program is screwed up, so you're not quite there like you should be. And we'll see. Dallas has a very good defense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I don't know that the Giants' defense has improved that much. I think it's going to be better, but if it can go to the next level, I think they can compete with Dallas and possibly get the second spot. I think the Redskins the Commanders or whatever they're going to name their team, I think they're kind of doomed for last place. I don't really see see that team with Sam Howell as the quarterback. He's going to have to really be awfully good to not come in, for them to not come in fourth. So I think that's where it goes right now. What do you think, Doug?
I think I agree. My biggest fear is, like, the one thing you talked about, Jalen Hurts. He's had it ripped from him before, right? Alabama starter, national championship game, gets benched, right? Has to prove his way to the NFL. Now he's proven it. Players like that don't get complacent. You don't have any qualms about giving that guy, a guy like that, the kind of contract. He's not going to change who he is. And I think if your leaders do the dirty work, everybody else follows. I think the biggest fear I have for both divisions, because the NFC East plays the AFC East, right? So, like, the schedule, they're going to beat each other up inside their division. And then when you go across, the Eagles have the Niners and the Chiefs, which great games for fans and ratings. But at the end of the day, my biggest fear is, like, though to me, they're the best two divisions in football. And obviously outside of the Chiefs, people will complain they've won the Super Bowl. I understand it. But as far as depth in a division, like, Washington's always seems like they're always 9-8 or 8-8. Now they have 17 games. They're always 9-8, but they always figure out a way to win a game they're not supposed to win, right? And then you throw in, the Jets for years, even when they didn't have a quarterback, could do that. So my biggest fear is that, like, as great as the NFC East and the Eagles are, that they've got a tough schedule to where they're going to have to go on the road somewhere. But I think the Eagles are more battle tested to go on the road and win a playoff game than most of the teams in the NFC. But that's my biggest fear about when you see these wonderful matchups and, like, they change divisions in the schedule. That's going to be a tough road to hoe, because you're going to go, if they go 14-3 this year, they've absolutely cleaned house. But getting back to how they've built it, they just keep drafting winning players. Like, look at where they come from. I mean, Georgia, Bama, like, players that are, like, now they have the culture set. They just keep bringing in elite winners. I mean, they got Nolan Smith late in the first round. Like, to me, he was the best linebacker in the draft, hands down. And he slipped to 31 because it's a position thing. But, like, you throw that in there with the defensive front they have already, man, like, you can turn him loose and do all kinds of things. So, I mean, I just feel like the Eagles are the class of the NFC, and not to take anything away from everybody else, but Dallas is like that friend that always lets you down. They have that glamour win, and or like the girlfriend that is always, like, she's really pretty, and then when you get close, she just leaves you. And you're stuck going, like, well, what just happened, right? Because they'll beat somebody 41-0, and then they'll disappear for 5 weeks. And then, like, push comes to shove when the game's on the line, in the playoff time, you might get a timeout called when you don't have any left. You might come in, there's all kinds of this. So, like, you can't ever bank. Like, I don't see them going 12-5 either. So, if you can win, I think if you win 12 games in the NFC East, you're obviously a class. My point is, the record itself, I think the Eagles will be better than what their record shows. Because I think they are going to have a tough road to hoe. They got more games than they've had in the past. But they're still, I'll take them at 9-8 to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I don't care what the regular season says.
I have Dallas. I think, Brad, your Giants. Okay, so Dallas goes to New York in Week 1 on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, instead of us going there all the time, now we
right. I feel like that's the opener every year. The Giants in Big.
But at least this time it's here. It's not there.
That's a big time swing game for Dallas.
It's a big time swing game for the Giants too. Giants can set the tone with a win here. Because
I have Dallas's schedule up here. It's not easy to start, and part of it is what Doug said. Like, we're going to play the AFC. We play one team from the AFC East based on where you finished, and you got the entire AFC East, and we play the entire NFC West. Obviously, Seattle and San Francisco, they're going to be tough games. But that Dallas's first 6 games, New York. They'll play the Jets in Week 2 in Dallas. We'll get to the AFC East soon, but I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a douche, but he can spin it still, I think. And they were a quarterback short of really making some noise last year in the AFC. Then they got Arizona and New England. Arizona's going to stink with our.
They'll beat Arizona. They'll beat Arizona, but New England will not be easy.
I think they should out-town. New England is just – the Eagles got them Week 1.
They can't move the ball, but, like, he's going to come up. They're going to keep them in a game somehow, some way. Belichick's too good scheme, but like their offense, they can't get out of their own way on offense.
They don't stretch the field vertically.
Mac Jones is horrible. I don't care what anybody says. He was off. He's awful. Like he's not. I feel like there's backups. Like we'll get to it, but the third string guy at Miami would be a better option than Mac Jones.
I agree. I think.
And then
that's just bad.
And then Dallas to wind out weeks 5 and 6. They go out west for 2 games, 2 back-to-back primetime games against San Francisco and Los Angeles. Then they have their bye week. Wouldn't surprise me at all that if Dallas is 2-4 in their bye week, Mike McCarthy is looking for a new job during the bye week. Because Jerry Jones is a nut. If they go 2-4 with these kind of expectations, he's going to want blood. Because he thinks he's got – no?
I think he's going to take McCarthy to the grave with him. He's like
he did it with Jason Garrett. You're right about that.
You can deal with Jason Garrett for a decade when Jason Garrett looked like the most confused person on the sideline for a decade. Like I'm like, what team are you coaching? Like, are you coaching their team? What are you doing? He had that smirk face. Like I'm kind of smiling because I'm uncomfortable. Like I just don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing. Will someone please help me? And that look was just like it's like he's a deer in headlights. And McCarthy's like he's had some really bonehead plays with like as a head coach, but like I feel like Jerry's. I mean, how many times could you honestly say when Jason Garrett's last 5 years, you're like, oh, he's getting fired this week. He's getting fired. It happened every week.
Yeah,
constantly.
And
right.
Does he have naked pictures on somebody? I don't understand. How is he going to have a job? But he kept sticking around. They kept fighting. So, like McCarthy, man, like if he didn't fire him after what he did the last couple of years with the way they handle the time management and the timeouts and all that stuff, he ain't letting him go now. I think Jerry's too loyal to a fault. And the only time I think he got burned when he got in an argument with Jimmy Johnson, and he hasn't recovered from that.
Okay, well, whether McCarthy gets, that's just mine because I want to see them burn. Actually, I don't know. Brad, what do you think? Because we both hate the Cowboys. That's our like. Mutual.
I want McCarthy to stay because he's a terrible coach and they'll never go anywhere with him. So
right, but Brad, do you like it better?
Let him be 3-3, and that way he won't lose his job, and that way they'll end up being like 10 like 9-8 or 10-7.
If you really don't like somebody, if you don't like a football team, wish them to go 7-9 or 9-8.
Yeah, exactly.
The Dolphins lived it for decades, where we get the mediocre pick, we never get any better. You just sit there and run in place. So if you really hate another team, like please go, 6-11 or 9-8 or 8-9, or whatever it is. Just stay mediocre and be fine.
It is quite satisfying though, because even if they're 13-3 or whatever, 14-3, they're not going to do. I don't think they're going to do that this year. But it's the NFL; anything can happen. Like when they're really good, and then their fans start barking, and then they just fall flat on their face.
The Cowboys are not going to be the Cowboys.
They are the complete opposite of from their owner to their fan base of they don't believe in staying even keel at all. It's the anti-athlete. It's just up. They win a game. We're winning the Super Bowl, and we lose like we're god awful. Like there's no consistency at all. Like they swing from both emotions so fast. I mean, most fan bases do. Don't get me wrong, but like I've never seen anything like the Cowboy fans. Like where they're just like, oh yeah, we got it. This is our year. Like no, it's not. And then every year comes in like. But I will say this: they make the most out of guys. Like Tony Romo was the most mediocre NFL quarterback for a long time, and they make him out to be Roger Staubach, right? He's on TV.
Yeah, that's true.
He's just everywhere. It's like he's on Corona commercials. You're just like, hang on, man. Like, you couldn't hold a snap. Like,
yeah. He blew a field goal. He blew a field goal because he dropped the snap.
That's the point in a playoff game.
Yeah.
You should not be in the same sense. I don't care how many numbers you put up. So
I know that his head's getting too big as an announcer. I can't stand it. I used to like him, like when he first started and was kind of like learning it.
He was different. You didn't like him because he was good. You liked him because he was different.
Fair. But now it's like I'm watching the play and he's like, okay, here comes a quick screen, Joe Mixon, check down. I'm like, dude, let me watch it and then analyze it. Don't tell me what's going to happen. Like, don't tell me what's going to happen before it happens.
I go, if you played quarterback as quick as you diagnosed the plays from the booth, you probably would have won a few playoff games.
Yeah, right.
You can read it a hell of a lot better from up here than you could on the field.
I know. Remember when they got screwed in 2014 at Lambeau with that catch?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was.
I was giggling. I was just snickering.
Oh well.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Too bad.
well.
Oh, what we have is called keep your chin up. That's what
I mean, I'll get any Cowboys fan I argue with about that game. Like, yeah, that was a catch, but oh well.
Yeah, them's the breaks.
Oh well. Yeah. Let's get into some comments here. Our comments are brought to you by Alan Foy at eXp Realty. Looking to buy or sell a home, changing career brokerage. Contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty, 302-682-8820. There's his website right there, alan.foy at exprealty.com. Comments. Chris Garland, Eagles fans always biased and don't see things happening in camp and what will happen in preseason. Pollard is looking great. And yes, hits do happen in camp sometimes. First off, no, they don't. Do you see the spacesuits they walk around in camp these days? They have the puffy helmets. Like, nobody touches anybody. It's flag football. No one gets hit in camp. Stop it. And, I don't really give a flying what happens in camp as long as no one gets hurt. Like, oh, the beat writers. Oh, Quez Watkins, he had a great catch today. Cool. But when they need it in week 7 on Monday Night Football to win the game, he drops it. But he caught it in camp. I don't care. So as long as we come out of camp and preseason.
Just like Jalen Hyatt, Rob.
Yeah.
He looks great now. Fantastic. Yeah, he looks fantastic. And he looks fantastic. Okay. We now know that he's faster than Tyreek Hill. Okay. Wonderful. So, let's see him beat big play Slay on a bomb against the Eagles in week 16. Okay.
I like Jalen Hyatt. I think he's going to be good. I like the Giants draft. That's why the Giants got more meat and potatoes, I think, than the Cowboys. The Cowboys got the sizzle and the flash, and the Giants got that. You guys got a center out of the Big Ten. You've been telling me every week, every year for 10 years how you need a center.
Yeah.
It's a hard position to find.
It's very hard.
Seems like you got one now. I thought the corner you picked from Maryland, Deontay Banks, I thought that was my favorite corner in the draft.
I think they did really well in the draft, and I think they did okay with free agency too. They didn't get any big stars. They didn't make a big splash. They just basically filled needs. They kind of filled in holes, which is really what they've needed to do. You stop spending so much money on one guy when you got a lot of holes to fill. And they finally, I mean, Gettleman never understood that. And that was always the problem. Instead of filling in 2 holes with an $11 million player, and get 2 $5.5 million players, we get the $11 million player and then they get hurt. Can anybody say what's his name? The tackling machine they signed from Green Bay? Can't remember his name now. The Spanish guy? I just can't remember his name.
What? The kid from Florida, right?
Yeah, the Spanish linebacker who was a tackling machine. I mean, he was great.
Blake Martinez.
Blake Martinez. Yeah, I mean, that kid could tackle and he was great, and then he gets hurt. And you spend all that money, and meanwhile you have no other linebackers. I think the way Shane did it was the right way to do it, and I think that they're going to be better for it. And you know what? After this year, Leonard Williams, they didn't restructure his contract. They're going to eat the $32 million and let him play this year. So next year, you know what? They're going to have that whole $32 million to play with next year.
I think too, when it helps you have a solid base too. You can it's easier to plug in holes when you start to have a foundation, right? When you're trying to, you have a draft that you're trying to fill giant gaping holes. You reach, and when you reach, you just kill yourself. And honestly, I feel like a lot of teams are built on the guys that no one ever knows, right? The undrafted guy who sneaks up on you. Those, to me, that's what you substantially continue to have success when you continually find 1 or 2 guys that aren't just special team guys that fill in all of a sudden. Wow, where'd this guy come from? He's pretty good. When you start reaching for free agents, I watched it down here for decades. Man, it looks great on paper, but like you said, one high ankle sprain, and you're screwed. So you better have depth.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole
You
point
think
I was making. That's the difference between what the way Shane is doing it with the Giants and the way Dave Gettleman did it. Always trying to get the big star instead of just trying to get solid players.
Right. Also, too, it's just like it's not as I won't say this as much. I feel like as it is in baseball, but in the NFL too, it's not about who you play; it's when you play them. It's always always that line of your schedule looks hard. Well, shit, it might not be hard. It depends on how they're playing, the injury before you, all that stuff matters. So, these schedules, like we all do it, right? As fans, we get the new schedule out, and we look, and we're like, whoa, okay, we're 1-0, 1-1. That's going to be tough. And then, there's always one or two teams that either surprise you on the good side, and there's one or two teams that surprise you on the bad side. And would you ever thought the Vikings would have started off the way they started off last year? I didn't see that coming. And so did
you see Seattle being as good as they were last year?
Geno, God bless his heart, he figured it out. Good for him. Great story. But I didn't see that coming. I didn't see the Broncos completely falling off the planet.
Nope. There was a lot of unpredictable stuff that happened last year.
So it's a matter about when you play them too.
Yep.
NFL is. Statistically speaking, on average, half the teams that made the playoffs last year, they're not going to make it this year, and there's going to be new meat in there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking poll. There is King Ornegas, possible dynasty. Thank you for the super chat tip. Thomas Arnone is in the house. I'll agree, but obviously you just got to stay healthy. This team's so deep, though, in Philadelphia.
You're deep, man. My God. You know what? I thought there's two. You guys can win. You can run over people, or you can stop them on if you have to win a game, which isn't unheard of in today's NFL, right? 13-10, or even today's NFL is what? The old 13-10 game of a couple decades ago now is 28-24, right?
Yeah,
pretty much, yeah.
But your
inflation.
Right. Your defense can legitimately win you games. They can, they know how to do it, and you have the run game to do it. You don't need a spectacular game from anybody to beat anybody in the NFL. And minus a few injuries here and there, you have the depth to withstand. I just feel like I go back to Jalen Hurts is just a different breed. He's strong. He's almost like a running back behind center, and he can throw. And you don't ever hear him. I love it. He's quiet. He could have complained when he got even in Alabama he could have complained. Not saying I went to OU. Never said anything bad about Alabama, right? Just happy. Same thing in the NFL. Waited his turn. Got his team to the Super Bowl. He just keeps pushing. That team. When your superstars do the dirty work, man. I feel like they're going to be. The Eagles are going to be in the. I feel like the NFC Championship. They're about to go on a Chiefs run here, where they're in the NFC Championship game every year.
And the backup quarterback here this year is Marcus Mariota.
And he doesn't have to do much. It's the first system he's been in where he doesn't have to do anything. Right?
You put Marcus Mariota around A.J. Brown, Goddard, DeVonta Smith. So, God forbid, Hurts twists an ankle, whatever. He missed a couple games last year.
Right.
They can still win games with Marcus Mariota.
Correct.
The only way this team
he's not going to hurt you.
He's not gonna beat himself. He's not gonna beat you guys on his own. He's gonna, It's not. I don't think he's gonna win you much, but I think there's packages and to me, there's not another team that if you could have said if Marcus Mariota was gonna be your backup, what team would he fit the best on? It'd be the Eagles, and that makes sense. You gotta protect yourself, right?
I guess. We're talking about if everyone stays healthy, people are gonna get hurt. People are gonna miss times. This is it's going to happen. You're not going to have, it's not like Xbox where you can just go in and turn the injury setting off so everyone can be healthy. It doesn't work like that. So people are going to get.
Trust me, you have a very unique situation with a quarterback because the dude, he had his rib injury was really bad last year. It had to be. It was the last.
Collarbone, I thought, right?
Whatever it was. Availability. Giants, Eli. Love him or hate him, whether he had a great game, because Eli could throw some stinkers out there, but he also won 2 Super Bowls. He went in the post every single game. That's the biggest thing we're dealing with down here. Yeah, we're better, but I can't. Can you count on Tua for 17 games? I can't. That's why I'm not. I can't pick my own hometown team to win our own division because I just don't know who's. I don't know who's going to be under center.
I think he could play. I think he's going to play 14 to 15 games.
Joseph Orcasi, a lot would have to go wrong for the Eagles not to repeat as NFC East champs. I totally agree with that.
1,000%.
Yeah, they'd have to be. They would have to be just injury plagued.
Correct.
Not to win.
Honestly, I think the injury that, like, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen. I think the injury that would be the most devastating in this team is if Lane Johnson would miss extended amount of time.
Yeah, Lane Johnson and Kelsey. I think they're the two most important players on the team, to be honest.
But at least they have, like, the heir apparent in Cam Jernigan, who they picked in the second round last year.
Yeah, but nobody is.
I get that. But like
you just named two of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Place, but you don't need. You know, you'll win, but you're not gonna win by 3 scores. You're not gonna.
Well, Doug, if you look at the Eagles, like when Lane Johnson does miss time, I think it was Carson's rookie year. And they went 8-8. They started good, and then Lane got popped for PEDs, and he had to get suspended 12 games because he did it. It was a second offense, and the whole team just went right down the tubes. And then he came back, and they started winning again, and he would get themselves from 8-8. So their record distribution when Lane Johnson's in and when Lane Johnson's out, it's like astronomical for a right tackle. You would think it'd be the quarterback, but it's not here. It's Lane Johnson.
It's a different team now. Not that you don't want anyone to get hurt. I get it, but like I think you're different. The whole team's in a different mindset now. Like I think they're like, and I don't know how to put this, but like they feel like they lost the Super Bowl more than the Chiefs won it. That's how I would think as an Eagles fan. I was like, man, like yes, the Chiefs had the drive and whatever it is, but like watching that game, I was like, man, that's gotta hurt. And I didn't have a dog in the fight at all. I was watching it as an Eagles fan, like as an Eagles as a football fan, going, man, that was gonna linger. Just because, like, in the sense of like a mindset of an athlete going, they didn't beat us. We gave that to them. Like they capitalized on our mistakes, but like if you watch that game and took the scoreboard out of it, if you just no sound, watch the game, stats wise, I would have thought the Eagles beat them. Right? Am I wrong? Like I felt like they.
No, I agree.
And
the Chiefs got there was 2 X factor plays in the whole game.
Correct.
The fumble, which got turned for a touchdown, and then the second half they let up the punt return to Kadarius Toney and put Patrick Mahomes on the 6-yard line.
Right. And
then they got the PI call. But I think the fan base in Philadelphia, I think they're, at least me, like I'm at peace with that. Yeah, I was mad, disappointed, and like that's not pass interference at the end of the game, or why did Hurts fumble, and why is Jonathan Gannon being a huge dork out there and not putting any pressure on a quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, that had to take Toradol shots before the game because his ankle wasn't right. But, you know, Jalen Hurts battled.
I'm wrong. That's because you guys know you're really good again, right? Like you have confidence going in, like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like before.
I guess, yeah, because we have Jalen locked up. And if you have a quarterback, you got a shot. And the NFC is not the AFC. It's the inferior conference. But the team showed.
I just feel like I don't have like, you know, I just feel like with this group of guys you have there now, you're not going to be another decade before you go back to the Super Bowl, right? If everything goes well, right? You can't ever predict that, but like you feel like, yeah, like that wasn't just like, oh, what a great run. We got crazy and we got some breaks and we went to the Super Bowl and should have won it. No, like I feel like fans like that. You have a feeling that this team's good enough to where we can put ourselves in position again and again and again.
And then, like, as a city of Philadelphia, because we had the Phillies in the fall, and then we rolled that right into the Eagles. So we had, like, 6 months straight of, like, championship caliber team. And the Phillies went, and everyone's like, oh, Philly fans are going to kill them for losing. The Eagles fans are like, no, the Phillies went there. It went 6 games. They tried their best. They played hard.
They got
and it didn't work. Okay, I can live with that.
Right.
Eagles went in there, played their hearts out. Jalen probably should have been the MVP of the game, even though they lost.
He should have won. He should have won MVP, win, lose, or draw that game.
And they just came up a little bit short. A few things didn't go their way. I can live with that as a fan. And then we have the stupid Sixers that just quit like dogs every season and disappoint, and we crush them.
What about
deservingly so.
And then there's the Flyers.
Right.
Well, the Flyers they're rebuilding, but the fans understand that.
That's
the fans from what I've seen about the fans with the Flyers, they're all pretty accepting about the situation that's going on, and that they've been able to rid themselves of a lot of bad contracts, and are kind of starting afresh now with the with things, and they can start with basically young players, and they'll be in good shape next season after the cap and be able to bring in a couple of guys if they need to.
But it's like Doug said, like, okay, great, we finished 10th in the conference, so we're not high enough to get the game-changing prodigy pick that whatever the Blackhawks got, I think. Right. And they're not in the playoffs where anything can happen in the NHL playoffs.
Yeah, but they got a really good player with their first round pick. The kid from
Russia, right?
His name is. He's Michkov. Yeah, he's very, very talented player. I mean, he may have been the second pick in the draft if he didn't have that 3-year contract. But he'll be in the league. He'll be in the league in 3 years, and you figure in 3 years they'll be able to build their talent up to a point where when the kid comes in, you're basically bringing in a superstar, a Evgeny Malkin type of player into your team. So.
All right, here's Chris. Chris, I guess he's not. He's liking the show and he's commenting on the show. This was not doing that bad of a job. You guys are clowns for putting bias over realistic. After one good year you had, but all Dallas fans are like that. But you're clowns. First off, I'm the only Eagles fan. I'm the only Eagles fan on this panel. Brad's a Giants fan and agree with the poll.
Yeah, and I, by the way, I hate the Eagles, but you know what? I give credit where credit is due, and I try to always remain neutral. That's why they call me Mr. Switzerland, by the way, and tell people and give people an honest opinion, even though it kills me to say that the Eagles are better than the Giants. Yeah, they are. We got our asses kicked last year in the playoffs. I don't think we're good enough to beat them yet either. I do think they have a chance. I do think the Giants have a chance to overtake Dallas. They have to play real well, obviously, and there's certain things that have to go right. But I'm not feeling it with Dallas. I don't think they're all that great anymore. Not that they not that they have been lately, but they're just not. I mean, they should have beat San Francisco last year.
Yeah,
they should have lost that game.
And then just to go back to this comment, like one good year, like really, the Eagles are like a mainstay in the playoffs, and when they get in the playoffs, they do damage. Like they got there with Hurts, he was super green and didn't know what he was doing. And Tampa had a really good team, and they got shown up. They went to the playoffs.
They lost to a better team in the playoffs. It's not like they
won 2017.
Yeah, they're not. I mean,
they don't ever put up substance.
Because they had one. Listen, they had one bad year, and they got rid of Carson Wentz and recycled the team. And they've done a great job recycling the team. And you know what? They're built to stay competitive for a while. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
But I'll be curious to see that's when you. I feel like it's easier in the NFL today when your quarterback is under his rookie contract. They have a better team. It's huge, right? What happens now? Can they sustain it when now that they paid him? Now they paid the boy in New York, the Giants. Does that withstand? I think that's that's where it starts to get tricky.
Well, they paid Dexter Lawrence too.
Yeah,
the Giants, and that was something they had to do. Dexter Lawrence is the closest thing they've had to Lawrence Taylor in 30 years. So I mean, the guy's a phenomenal player. So of course, you got to pay your stars. The Giants are lucky that they actually finally have somebody who was worth paying. They haven't had that in God knows how long, Doug.
Yeah,
Rob. These guys. When was the last time they actually got guys that were good enough that they needed to pay them?
Giants.
Yeah, Odell. I mean, Odell let us down. He was always getting hurt. great player, but always hurt. And
yeah, it's been a well, who was the clown? You had Gettleman who sucked. You had another guy who sucked too.
Oh, Jerry Reese. Yeah, he was.
Jerry Reese. He was
horrible.
so like
we had two bad general managers in a row. So
it'd be 3 years have gone by and you guys won 6 games.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
3 decades.
I saw a lot. I felt a lot of pain all these years. You know, after 2012, things went south. They went sideways in a hurry. You know, they went 8-8 the following year, and then after that they hit the skids and they couldn't get off the skids. They had one good year with that other moron. Who's that moron? McAdoo.
Oh my God.
McAdope, who had one good year with the team, and then the whole team turned against him because they realized what a clown he was.
Yeah, that was when they took the picture. That was when they took the picture on the boat, right?
Yes.
Down in Miami.
Yeah.
Doug took the picture, I think.
What happens down here?
Yeah.
Just a quick sidebar. Like, what is Carson Wentz doing? Did you see his workout over the weekend, where he did a private workout for all the scouts and all the teams? He wore an Eagles helmet, a Colts jersey, and Washington Commander pants, and did his tryout.
Well, I feel like if the Washington Commanders let you go at quarterback,
yeah,
pick up a new profession.
Yeah,
time. It's like, man, like you try to, but like, how do you? Is that like a game helmet he had with the Eagles? Was it the first one he got drafted, and that's the only one he had in his living room? He just put it on. He was gonna do a private workout. Oh, let me grab my Colts jersey real quick. Like, what was that attire?
What are his handlers doing? They're like, oh, his handlers probably did it to make that's terrible. You want to remind people more about how he flamed out in Philadelphia, flamed out in Indianapolis, and flamed out in Washington? What do you want to just put a billboard on I-95 and tell him like nobody likes him?
Right. Put your college undershirt back on. Maybe you'll get the glory days back. I don't know, but that outfit was horrendous.
Maybe you should handle him though. That's a good idea. Go in North Dakota State.
Bring it back. Might light a fire in your butt.
That's a future 30 for 30. I like looking at like situations and be like, that's a 30 for 30. That guy's
minus all the paraphernalia, maybe. You see the one?
Just the whole saga. He was so good. Everyone was gung ho about him here in Philadelphia.
That's what happens in today's sport.
Awesome.
We crown guys too soon.
But like the drop, like I can get it. Like, okay, you're not as good as 2017. You hurt your knee, you hurt your back, but like, forgot how to play.
Wow.
You never knew how to play, I guess, is what we take from that, right?
Trust me, I've seen it. The highest level does some weird stuff to people. Really good players fall off and never find it again. It happens. Injuries change things, whatever. But he ain't the only one that's ever happened to. Where
we have this history of Philadelphia sports littered with them. We had this guy named Dominic Brown on the Phillies. He had a monster 6 weeks, made the All-Star team, and then forgot how to play. Ben Simmons.
Plenty of guys. The list goes on. Ken Grieve back at Oakland was rookie of the year. Was best
That's
player.
Right. Yeah.
Never heard from him again. But football's it's like everything else. You never know. You never know what I mean, people look back at Carr, like his brother. We'll never know how good he could have been. He was getting killed. Like when he played quarterback. You don't know. He got sacked 500 times in a season. He might have been.
So did Tim.
Yeah.
I think you put Tim Couch on that list too.
Yeah, and you only take so many dropbacks where like you're trying to read the speed and you're getting hit, kind of go through a progression. And you're like, then you start questioning yourself, and then that's what's amazing about it. It happens. I mean, it's just the nature of the business. Like, I mean, you can go back to decades of quarterbacks taken in the top 5 that, under different circumstances might have been significantly quality NFL starters, but they got rushed into it and never got a chance to really slow it down with protection and everything else. So it's that happens. It happens probably more times than not.
Well, Doug, I mean, I don't know if this is before your time or not, but I don't know if you're old enough to remember Terry Bradshaw when he first came in to the Steelers. His first year, he was 1-13. The Steelers are 1-13 in his first year, and I mean, he got killed. I mean, I think he got benched for Terry Hanratty, and then Terry Hanratty got benched for Joe Gilliam.
Because my aunt, who just passed away a couple months ago, she was a diehard Steelers fan, so I knew I heard everything I needed to hear about Terry Bradshaw. I didn't like.
And Terry Bradshaw. You could say whatever you want about him. He was great.
Right. He was tough.
And nobody. I mean, everybody makes like he was some kind of a clown, and he wasn't that smart and all this stuff. That guy was a great quarterback. I mean, I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. He was the real deal.
I just feel like too, coaching has so much to do with this, right? I mean, and coaches, organizations, from top to bottom, it's never more prevalent than it is in the NFL. You can have the best players. If you don't have the right system for them, it doesn't matter. It's never going to work. So you have to draft according to the system you want, have faith in the guy you hired to get the people he wants in place and have it and see it work. And when it does, it's a thing of beauty, right? Everything gets simpler, like not simpler, but like drafting holes and filling holes. You already know what kind of people you want, personality, player type, speed, power, whatever. And it's easier to plug and play, but it's just getting to that point where you trust the guy that's making the calls, spending the money, and then you give them to you and you make the right scheme for the right people. It's huge in the NFL.
I do totally agree. NFL is
That's
the biggest scheme fit league in the league. Like, is Mahomes if he doesn't have Andy Reid?
I think he's Brett. I think he's like a young Brett Favre.
He's exceptional,
right? Like,
he's exceptional.
Wow you to death, and then throw a pick. You're like, what are you doing? But he's just athletically a freak. So you have a guy who's, the best quarterback probably by the end of this we'll ever see, right? But he also had the mastermind of Andy Reid behind it too, and that's like a perfect storm, right? Like, Mahomes is phenomenal. There's nothing like teammate, everything off the charts, right? I mean, he just gets it. He does everything phenomenal, and it's like, well, you have the perfect storm with a guy drawing it up, and get the best security blanket in the NFL, and Kelsey, and it's just like there's a million things to keep going. And he got that confidence, and now one thing he never lacked. He never lacked trust in his own ability. Never. And you had a coach who know how to use his strength, but also let him be him and not try to put, like a harness on him and just let him go and dealt with it. Now you're arguably the best quarterback to ever put spikes on.
Well, I mean, listen, I think you could make the same point about Brady, and you could make the same thing about Joe Montana with Bill Walsh. Right? I mean, Bill Walsh was way ahead of his time as a coach.
Well, for sure.
With the West Coast offense, I mean, they were the first ones to do it, and they did it best. Nobody could do the West Coast offense like that. Maybe Buffalo when they had Jim Kelly, but unfortunately, their defense was never up to the challenge in the Super Bowls. Unfortunately for them.
Joseph Orcasi, I think Carson Wentz was showing a lighter side of himself, maybe proving he doesn't take himself too seriously, and he's approachable and coachable, growth, ready for a backup role on a team.
Well, he certainly could be a backup somewhere.
He certainly is. Like, look at the Chiefs. I was just listening to something or reading something that the Lions' backup is Nate Sudfeld, who used to be.
Bridgewater now.
What's that?
They just signed Teddy Bridgewater.
Did they?
Did they? Ooh, okay.
So I guess cross that off. I guess they watched Carson be a clown with his 3 different jerseys on, and they said no thanks. I wouldn't bring Carson Wentz into it, especially a team like the Lions.
Nope.
A young upstart team like that, that's just asking for trouble.
No.
But, I mean, maybe that's what he was going for, Joe, a lighter side of himself, but I thought it was just like a billboard of his failures, in my opinion. Like, great, you've ran yourself out of all these teams, and you're wearing them all. Like, wear your North Dakota State stuff. Buy a white helmet from Dick's. It's just a workout. Like, you're not going to get hit.
Do you really need a helmet? Do you really need a helmet to do a pro? To do that day? Do you really need a helmet? Stop.
Yeah, that was just kind of silly, but
It's just bad. I mean, I know we just talked about guys not getting it and falling off, but I just
I just see some. I
be
see
the MVP of the league to like out of the league.
I see a guy broke mentally and physically.
Because he got butthurt when Nick Foles won that Super Bowl. Big time. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
In my opinion.
Without question. Without a doubt.
And we don't really know if they would have won the Super Bowl with him. They may have.
They may have.
But they may not have either. I mean,
right.
I mean, Nick Foles, that was he played the best game of his life. He was incredible that game.
And the same thing about Acuna and the Braves. I don't think the Braves win the World Series if Acuna doesn't get hurt.
Right, because it's set in the chain of events. They got Ozuna and Rosario and
Rosario, Peterson.
Yep.
And
Peterson, right.
And Duvall.
That's a starting caliber outfield right there.
Right, it's pretty good.
What we never even got if Acuna didn't get hurt.
Pretty good battle-tested crew.
Yep.
Postseason warriors.
Yep. Yeah, all guys who could hit the ball out of the ballpark too.
All could play defense.
Yep.
There ain't enough football equipment to show all the teams Ryan Fitzpatrick paid for, but he still manages to find a new team every year. Now I think he's on them.
I'll tell you what, watching that down here, watching him play for the Dolphins was nothing short of, because I was like, it was a bill, right? And I was like, yeah, this guy, I don't get it, whatever. But watching the difference he made as a Dolphin at his age, that team, it was like the second he stepped on the field, they thought they knew they were good, and they thought.
What year was he your guys' quarterback again?
It was to his first year. I think it was to his first year.
Yeah, it was his first year.
Being benched, at pull, and was like, all right, man, our backs against the wall, go sling it around. And it was like, I mean, it was like everything. It was like the light switch went off. We went from a really boring, here, don't screw this game up, to a, oh wait, we're down 10. Okay, well, I'm gonna put Fitzpatrick in, and like the offensive coordinator was like, okay, let's open it up and start winging all over the field. It's like, if this doesn't tell you what they think of the guy they drafted, nothing will. Because Fitzpatrick was like just winging it all over the place, and the plays were 10 yards, 15 yards on the field. Wasn't taking like crazy risk, but he was making actual NFL throws. I'm like, wow. Do you see the difference? Like, we can't keep bailing this kid out. You could that whole fiasco was.
Wait, was this the year like they would let Tua go, and then when they needed to really do something, they would just take him out and put him in?
Right here,
bullpen.
Screw up the first half. Let's fall behind by 12, and then, all right, buddy, come on, Ryan, let's go wing it.
It was the Sonny Jurgensen, Billy Kilmer.
I remember
Billy Kilmer hour.
And he would do it. He would do it
every week. It was like, why don't we just start him? And like we can actually enjoy something that's not destined to be hung over till Tuesday, because we're drowning our sorrows at halftime, and all of a sudden we win, and now I feel like garbage for 3 days. You don't have to do this to me. I don't need cardiac arrest. I mean, just watch him just from start, the way I can somewhat enjoy my Sunday just once. Nope.
Fitzpatrick was one of those guys when he was hot. I mean, he was unbelievable.
Just let him go.
Yeah, and he could run. And he could run too.
Yeah. He always, like, even when he played for the Bills, he was like, there was a 7-game streak where he was like, my gosh, this is like Dan Marino, Joe Montana, and Peyton Manning dropping to one dude.
Yeah, he was fearless. He just, you know what the problem is, he gets so cocky and he get careless, and that was the other side of him. But you know what, when he came into a game, boy, he made things happen.
Right. I mean, I not a lot of players that kind of get that kind of like magic down here in South Florida. Man, like even when we were losing games, they would rave about what he does on the field, off the field, his Sundays. Like I became a huge fan because to be put in those situations over and over again, and the way he, like, that team just completely was different when he came in the game. Completely different.
Dynasty 215. The stretch in Tampa was ridiculous too. I remember the Eagles went down there. It was week 2, week 3, might even be week 1. It was really hot. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick threw for 550 yards. He just was on point, slinging it around. Some guys just get it with no talent. And I'm not going to say he's no talent, but I mean, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He went to Harvard. He was a 7th-round pick from Harvard.
Hey, do you remember he took the Jets? He took the Jets, who were a very mediocre team, and he brought them to 10-6.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they were 10-5, and they had to beat the Buffalo Bills, who back then were not good. And then he choked miserably, and they lost 10. They lost that game. I think he threw like 3 or 4 interceptions in the game that they needed to win, and they ended up 10-6, and they didn't make the playoffs.
Which he can do.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that about, though, Doug? Like, does he just make up for all of his physical deficiencies with leadership and being one of the boys?
If you look at him, he could move. I mean, he can run. He could get out of the pocket. He could sling with anybody. I just think maybe, I think he was too inconsistent because you don't know which guy you're going to get for him as a starter, right? Because he was, like you said, he'd have go 5 to 7 games where you're like, man, this guy's just unconscious. And then you go like through, it's like that. They did the same thing about Brett Favre in the beginning, though. Like when his games were great, they were amazing. When they were bad, they were god awful, right? There was no medium. Like, even Marino in the beginning, like he was unconscious his first year, but like I remember Dan would throw interceptions. We wouldn't even. I swear Dan Marino threw interceptions on purpose when like a young receiver ran the wrong route. He threw it anyways. And it was a pick six, and he was like, I don't care. Like, that's why. You have to pay attention to what I'm doing. Like, this is what I want. But I just feel like you couldn't trust him for 16 games. But I tell you what, I still think to this day, if he starts the beginning of the season of his first year, we make the playoffs that year.
You might have.
Because, and that goes to show you to me, like, what all this stuff goes back to. Leadership, chemistry. That team was completely different. Energy-wise, the defense played better. The play calls got better. We had a chance to be more. It's like we went from really trying to play like Dave Wannstedt, conservative football, don't screw it up, to like, hey man, we're gonna pin our ears back. We went to all the guys on the line, even on defense. Everybody up in the line of scrimmage, and then ball snap. You don't know where the pressure's coming from. Zero blitz, whatever. Like everything changed from one guy getting on the field. It was completely different. It was fun to watch for the first time in a long time. To be like, well, we're not out of it. We have a shot.
All right, just to put a wrap on the NFC East, we'll move on to the AFC East. So, sounds like me and Brad are on the same page with Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Commanders. See it that way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's.
We all agree on something. Wow, how about that?
Wow.
Kumbaya.
All right, let's move on to the other glamour division, another good division. AFC East, Patriots, Bills, Jets, Dolphins. Jets are on high. You caught any of Hard Knocks? Anyone? Does anyone still watch that?
I can't watch anything that has to do with the Jets. Sorry, it's in my religion. I can't do it.
Well, I mean, Hard Knocks. It's played out. It's not good anymore.
It's too much now. It really is. It's too much.
Well, now they're like I said before, they got the space helmets on. They don't do anything, and then they don't even see the guys getting cut because it might hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah, exactly. That was the best part of the show, to see, like, as much as it sucks, right? You have to see reality.
But that's what I'm tuning in for. I want to see the numbers thing, how they make their decisions, like what happens when a guy's cut. They just kick him out of the door.
Right.
But the one guy, I forget which year he was like tried to use his swipe card at the end of the practice facility. It wouldn't work. And the guy came over and said, yo, you got to come talk to coach.
Bring your playbook. That's not a good.
Bring your playbook.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cool. It's just reality. It's just like, we all get fired from our jobs. We have been. If you haven't been, it's coming, right? It's just but it's just different. I thought that stuff was cool. Like, as much as you don't want to see a guy's dream get cut, but at the same token, like that's part of, if you're going to do a reality show, that's reality. So you better show it.
Yeah. Also, I mean, when you're I was never a professional athlete, obviously, but okay, if you're a professional athlete, you know that at some point, things like that are going to happen. It's just it's part of the circle of life, I guess.
You should have a pretty good idea. right? You should have like most guys at that level, like NFL guys that don't make the team or a baseball player who gets released, like you have to have, like, the one thing that I will say that makes athletes a little different is you should have a tremendous feel for your own self-awareness. Like, meaning, like, like you feel it, like you see it developing. It's like unspoken. It's like the words in between the sentence. You see it written. You just don't want to admit it, right? And you see it coming, and you know what's going to happen, but you don't want. It still hurts. But like, it's not like these guys go in there going like, man, not all of them. I should say 95% of them should have a feel like this is coming. Like, or your agent or your advisor should be like, look, I have been talking, da-da-da. I don't know. It's not looking good, but, your position is needed by these three teams, so we can move on from that once if this doesn't work out, we have a backup plan or whatever.
I feel like you should at least know if you're on the cut, like, if it's going to be close.
Right. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, there's like probably 5 to 7 players, right? You start cutting it down going, damn, it's getting close. It's getting close. It's getting close. I'm just saying, like, no, I don't think anybody walks in there going, I was number 1 on the depth chart, and now I'm gone, right? Like, you're not. It happens for the first time.
Unless you're Dalvin Cook.
But even then, they know what's coming. Like, you know the salary cap and all this other stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay, gotcha.
You have an idea, like.
Well, I feel like you can also, like, if Rob Brinkman is battling Doug Mankiewicz for a first base slot, and they are paying Doug Mankiewicz $3 million, and they're paying me the league minimum.
I better be leap years ahead of you.
Right. So I feel like that's
close. They're taking you over me. Period. That's just
right.
the reality of it.
Don't worry, Doug. That wouldn't happen. So
yeah, that would never. That would never happen.
It's the truth, though. That's that.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So AFC East.
Oof.
I think we're going to have a new winner. I don't like what's going on in Buffalo. I don't like the juju around that team. I think Josh Allen is very good. I'm not going to use the overrated word with him, but I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. And then you have.
I would disagree with that, but
would you have said that? Would you have said that going into last year?
No.
Exactly. Like, I don't think 1 year changes things. But I understand.
I mean, he doesn't. Well, like, my top 5 is Mahomes, Hurts, Herbert, Burrow, and then it's either Allen or Lawrence. Yeah, I know, because you like guys who have done it before and been in the league, and I'm projecting a little bit on Trevor Lawrence, even though I think he's good.
I think Burrows to me is. I think he's 2.
Well, whatever, you can.
I mean,
you can jumble the order any way you want, but I think those are my 5, with an honorable mention of Allen. So I would put Allen. He turns the ball over a lot, and, like, really peculiar.
I feel like this is from a guy who watches him. I have to watch a ton. They put him in situations to get careless with the ball because they can't run the ball. They just refuse to. They don't even try. Like, they don't even try. I mean, he was their best rusher for, like, many of the games. It's like, wait a minute, like, this guy can sling it from, like, and I guess he can run. Doesn't mean you should. Like, okay, scramble with the game.
That's the whole point with him. They put way too much on him.
100%.
They got. I mean, the guy does all the running. He does all the passing. And basically Diggs was his main guy, and their offensive line last year let him down against Cincinnati. That wasn't Josh Allen's fault last year. What happened against Cincinnati? Their offensive line didn't do anything.
I just see a team. I think they got away from what got him to be an elite quarterback last year. They put too much on him. Like, you can put a lot on him. You can't just completely abandon the running game and expect to win meaningful games. It might work. He
also was hurt. Let's not forget that he was playing.
Trust me, I hope he runs all the time because I don't want to hurt him. I just want to knock him out of the game when he plays in the Dolphins. Like that's just reality.
Yeah. No, I mean, but when he got hurt, it wasn't from running the football. The Jets just put an unbelievable hit on him when he was throwing the ball.
That's my point. You're going up against now. You have the Jets defense last year was phenomenal. They the quarterback as good as anybody. You just don't ever hear about it. Like,
no.
And like the Dolphins, I will say this: like, now that I'm curious, I can't wait to see the Dolphins defense when Jalen Ramsey gets healthy, because we had one DB last year who was a shadow of himself, having to everybody all over the field. Howard, he wasn't right. Growing wasn't right. He just seemed like he still didn't say a word. And the whole team was built on pass rush and our two corners. And one just didn't show up, never played, was hurt. And the other was Howard, and Howard wasn't right the whole season. So, like, my point is, like, you're going to have to at least attempt to run the ball at some point.
Okay, but what did they do to address that? So Damian Harris is there from New England, and they're going to be able to run the ball now?
Well, I don't think they didn't have people that were adequately capable of doing it. They don't need to rush for 180 yards a game. They just need to have 25 attempts. Like, they would just abandon it, and, like, it was, like, not even slow the rush down just a little bit, even if it's a 2-yard carry. Like, at least let them think you might run. Like Josh Allen,
he was throwing the ball long all the time, Doug. I mean, I watched almost
everything.
Yeah, I watched almost every Buffalo game last year, and he was throwing. He had to throw. He was like Darryl LaMonica back there. He was the Mad Bomber. It was ridiculous. Nobody throws as many long passes as him, and it was like it's always the same play. It was either to Gabriel or to Diggs every time. It's like you got to do something else besides that, or make him run the football.
I think that was their idea of spreading the field. Just chuck it, and maybe we'll get the guys to back off, because I said, like, they're still good. Don't get me wrong. Like, but they should have been ashamed of themselves that the Dolphins' third-string quarterback went in there and should have beat them last year in the playoffs. Really should have beat them.
Well,
do you think they missed Brian Dable up there?
Oh, for sure.
I do.
100%. 100%. You can be under someone. You can be someone's, let's say, assistant all you want, and speak the same verbiage, believe in the same techniques, believe in everything. But when head guy leaves and you're calling plays now, it's not so much the plays, it's in the manner in which you call them. Never more so than it's like a pitch sequence. If you throw one pitch out of sequence, it screws the whole sequence up. You can call plays in the NFL and be one play ahead or one play behind. It never works. And, like, that's where I feel like that stuff, like, it's different. It's different. And that's Dorsey. And I don't think he doesn't have a grasp on what he's doing. I think he's very good at what he does. I think they're going to be much better this year than they were last year. Because I wasn't as fearful of playing them last year than I was 2 years ago. Like, last year going in there in the playoffs, even with our third-string guy, even with Skylar Thompson, like, we have a better shot with him, I feel, than we did with Tua. And we damn near almost pulled off a miracle.
So the Jets, they bring in Aaron Rodgers. Does that move the needle? I love the Jets this year.
It moves the needle 100%. Only because
big time.
It's huge because he's going to be there every game. You know what you're going to get, and he doesn't have to do a ton. But if you do need him to do a ton, he's capable of doing it. And I think everybody – how can you not bring that guy in your building and not bring extra added juice to what you want to be better, right? I expect their defense to go back a little bit from what it was last year. I just feel that way. I think sometimes you have a negative effect when you bring someone in like an Aaron Rodgers. Maybe I'm wrong. I just have that feeling. Maybe it's my wishful thinking or hopeful. But they're like, sometimes you bring in a big guy like that, everybody's kind of more in awe than they are of doing their own job, and it takes a while to get going. I would much rather play the Jets in the first month than I would the last month.
I agree with you there.
And hopefully, I'm not 100% sure of the schedule of the Dolphins, but I'm sure we play them. We have to play them twice, but I hope I'm not sure. I think the first one's relatively early.
Well, it's Dolphins It's Jets Bills is the first Monday night game.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Let's see. Preseason, regular season.
We don't play them till late in the year twice, so that's perfect, awesome. We play
week 15 and then
week 12 and week 15. So
one thing though, Doug, you're not, when you play Buffalo this time in Miami, it's not going to be 90 degrees and have the sun out.
Oh, you got the Black Friday game.
It could be that way in December too.
Yeah, I guess it could.
December. So
yeah, it could.
It
could, but it's not as likely as it is in September.
No, it's not. It's hot as you know what in September here, and it's been really bad here lately. I just can't put. I can't put the Dolphins number one. I can't. One, I think it's just because I know it's not going to happen, and two, it all. What
is your prediction for the AFC East, Doug? 1-4. We'll let you start this time.
I can't even put everybody's counting out the Bills, and
I'm fading the Bills.
Otherwise, I'm picking them to go first. I think the Jets finish second. I think the Dolphins finish third, and New England finishes fourth. And I'm not saying that the Dolphins won't be better. I just don't think. I think their schedule's hard enough to where they're going to be significantly better as a team and as a football team. I just don't think the record's going to show it. So, we're going to have to go on the road throughout the playoffs to make any noise.
In the AFC, if you don't win your division,
we're in trouble.
It's going to be very hard to get a wild.
Right.
There's a lot. I mean, I counted them yesterday. I think there's only 3 teams where I just I can't even make an argument for you to contend for a playoff spot.
100%. I mean, that's what I mean. We could be better than we've been in a long time and not make the playoffs. There's going to be 3 to 5 teams in the AFC that don't make the playoffs that could win it. I feel could win an NFC playoff game.
I agree. I agree 100%.
I mean,
the AFC is loaded.
It's crazy, and we talked about this before briefly. I'm like, finally, the Dolphins have a decent team, and now the AFC decides to just go ahead and make every team legit. I can't even enjoy it. But I can't put any trust and any confidence into the Dolphins until Tua can prove to us he can play week in and week out.
Do you like your coach, Mike McDaniel?
We'll see the second year. I loved what he did this year. I did. I was a fan of Flores. He did more with less than any other coach I've ever seen watching football. When he took over, they were a dumpster fire. And those guys played. It made watching Dolphin football worth it because those guys played their rear ends off. It might not have won a lot of games, but man, they played hard, which we couldn't do for a long time. We'll see. I think the quirkiness wears off over time. I think hopefully I'll get a better feel from after this year. It's easy year one, right? Everybody loves you. You're the man,
right?
This, right? And then all of a sudden that your warts get bigger and everybody loves your snarky comments, but now your snarky comments don't come off as well because they've heard them before and they're not as jovial as they were before. And now you start losing a couple games. I think you put Tua in some bad spots last year, personally. And I said that it's all about health, but Armstead's got to stay healthy. Our tackle. With him, we're a completely different offense when he stays healthy. But he's never healthy. So more so than anybody else, we're not as deep. We're deeper on defense than we have been in a long time. It's just we can't afford key injuries, and it's tackle and it's quarterback.
All right, I'm going to run through the Dolphins schedule right now.
You're going to kill me.
I want to get your feel of how many ball games they're going to win. Obviously, subject to change. It'd be a rough draft. We'll do official predictions later. So, starting Sunday afternoon, 4:25 in Los Angeles against the Chargers. That's a
tough
game.
I think we win that game.
Okay. Then you're going up to Foxborough.
I think we start 2-0. We beat New England. The Denver game's tricky.
I don't know what I can't. Is Denver good? Is Sean Payton just going to fix them?
Are we good? We might have White playing quarterback. We might have Skylar Thompson playing quarterback. That's the key. You just don't know. And I trust me, I'm not a Tua hater. I just don't have any. I don't have any confidence he can stay on the field. The Charger game's not a guaranteed win at all. But they shut us down last year with Tua last year. Shut us down. So again, this is so easy. It's so easy. You go down the schedule. Chargers, I'll say win. We usually do well in September. New England, we win that game. Denver's a trap game for me, so I'll go 2-1, going to Buffalo. Ooh,
that'll be 2-2.
You're 2-2.
You get the Giants at home.
Giants, I think you beat the Giants.
We should win that game. Only because it's going to be October. It's still going to be 1,000 degrees. I think we wear them down. Carolina, we better curb stomp.
You should kill them.
I don't see us beating the Eagles. I see us beat New England. Kansas City, I think we give them a better game than people think.
That game's in Germany, Doug. So
I don't care if
that's
it's
just an extra wild card factor in there.
We play
just pointing it out.
We play one team a year that we shouldn't beat, and we win. Last year was Baltimore. On
Thursday, I remember that. Yep.
Again.
That was when they blew that big lead.
Right. It's like we win a game like that every year, even when we were god awful. So that's the one game I think we shocked the world. I think we win that game. I think
every bye week,
but we dump. I think one of the next two we dump. We play the Raiders. I think we lose one of those, and then we play the Jets. We lose the Jets. Well, in New York, the Jets beat us.
When the Raiders game's at home, you get a West Coast team coming east playing at 1, unless it gets flexed. And then that Jets game's on Black Friday.
That's going to be tough.
I
don't see them beating the Jets.
Again, every team you can do this with, right?
Yeah. How do you know Rodgers isn't going to be hurt?
But Washington's going to give us a fit. I feel like they're that team that they're like the bully that you can beat them, but you don't want to play them because they have the possibility to beat you. You know what I mean? They're feisty. And if you don't take them serious, they'll beat you, right? Tennessee, that game scares me to death. I think
it's a Monday nighter.
Like one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think he has that. That team's tough. Like to get NFL team to be tough, his guys are tough. And they just play.
The last 5 games on your schedule are brutal.
Brutal, aren't they? It's just that's what I mean.
God.
Be the best team physically we've had.
The Titans, the Jets, the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills.
At Baltimore, by the way.
In Baltimore.
Oh, that's almost in December 31st it's going to be like 10 degrees. That's almost unfair.
It really is. Like I said, this is what Dolphins fan has been like my whole life. You finally get good, and then you gotta play everybody.
Oh boy, that's insane.
But I guess I should take it that way instead of I think I would much rather have this schedule than have a division where like the South last year with Tampa and New Orleans, where you go you can pull off a 13-3 and deep down inside you're going to get blown out in the playoffs. You can't say that each game isn't worth watching on Sunday, and that's what the NFL wants, right?
The Dolphins, I think, are also interesting because you're going to be in a tough spot no matter what happens with Tua and his contract next offseason.
That's my only saving grace. Because if he can run this gamut, this will tell you whether you waste the money on him or go get another one, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, if he gets hurt and you stuck, then you don't sign. That's probably the easiest scenario.
If he's healthy,
spending the
if
money,
he's
obviously
healthy,
not good for your fandom.
You win these games.
I'm telling you, if he gets hurt, as much as I like the Mike White pickup, I like that. Skylar Thompson is an NFL starter. He just hasn't had the reps yet. And
I think Skylar Thompson's way better than Mike White. Mike
White's not the answer. This could be the perfect thing the Dolphins need. Now, whether they've spent a lot of money on a head coach and how they're massaging to his ego, right? Are they going to have the what's to say? Okay, he gets hurt again, and do we leave Mike White in there? Do we let Skylar play? And if we let Skylar play, I mean, he went into Buffalo last year and put over 30 points on him.
30, yeah, it was a shootout game. Absolutely.
He made a couple bad decisions, but again, he gets 1/10 of the practice time the rest of the guys do. So I'm not, let's put it this way. I would feel just as confident in this team if Skylar Thompson was their quarterback as Tua is. And only I say that because I think Tua is better for the offense that they run. But for a 17-game schedule, I think Skylar Thompson, with their weapons, is going to be more available than Tua will be. Hence why he'd have a better record.
It makes sense because you don't think he's going to be able to stay healthy.
If that's no good
either. He got hurt.
If he stays on the field and he's successful against those last 5 teams, I mean, then it's an open and closed book. You're going to resign him.
If they make the playoffs this year and he stays healthy for 16 out of 17 games, pay him. Give the man his money. I think it's still a mistake. Because what are you fearful of? And this is what I mean. This is my argument to Dolphins fans, and that's why they call me they think I'm a Tua hater. I'm Mr. Realist. If Tua is not re-signed by the Dolphins, if we got 3 different teams here, Eagles, Giants, what do you think?
I mean, we're set with Jalen, so.
But I mean,
we pay Danny Jones, and I think Danny Jones is okay. I wouldn't.
So that's my point. We're going to have to pay him what?
So where does Tua rank on is Tua better than Deshaun Watson?
His numbers when he's healthy are through the roof, right?
No, he's great when he's healthy. We know that.
2-yard slant, RPO, and Tyreek takes it 40 yards on the field. Or wide out those, you know what I mean? So, yes, all that stuff. But my point is, are you really that concerned about, if he goes to a free agent, where is he going to go? What other organization can he go to? What other team can he go to where he has the weapons they've given him?
Minnesota.
Okay.
It's a good one. The Raiders. I don't know. Arizona.
But that's what I mean. You're not gonna take him over Murray.
No, but Cousins I think this is Cousins' last year in his
Rams, maybe. I don't know. Maybe McVay. Stafford's old. Yeah.
You're gonna have to my point. I don't want to overpay for him
when there's not many suitors.
Option.
Right.
If you plugged in Jalen Hurts with these weapons, would he be successful?
Yeah,
I think he would. Yes.
You can even say Daniel Jones. You plug him into the situation. Do you think he does the same? Daniel Jones.
If he's throwing to Tyreek Hill, are you kidding me?
Right. That's what I mean. Think about it. We're raving about Tua's numbers, and I'm like, he has a track team, and we don't have to block for 8 seconds. We got to block for a 10th and 8/10 of a second, and the ball's out. So that's my only thing. It's I don't want to have to pay the guy $45 million a year, because then your team's going to stink. And then if you remove one of the 2 weapons, now what? Now what do you do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that's a tough call.
It's huge. This is the hell that is a Miami Dolphins fan.
That's a tough call.
Brad, what do you say about the AFC East and how it could potentially stack up?
I'm gonna go with what Doug said. I still like Buffalo to win the division. I think they're the best team. Unlike what you think, I think that Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the NFL behind Patrick Mahomes. Again, he gets no help and he has to do everything. He has to be the running back and the quarterback. And
that's great. I hear all that.
Nobody can be the running back and the quarterback. Okay, it's okay for a quarterback to run when he needs to. Okay, but you can't be sitting there saying he can't be the only runner on the team. It's ridiculous. I mean, they've got running backs who aren't that bad. Okay, for God's sake, hand the ball off. Don't make him run on every play. Okay, the guy's big and yeah, he can take a hit. And he has a better arm than anybody else in the league. I've never seen anybody who's got an arm like that. Okay, but you got to give him a break. You've got to let the guy hand off once in a while.
He's not Superman.
You know, and also their offensive line has got to be better too. That's an absolute must. And you know their defensive line got run over by the Bengals last year. The Bengals just pushed them around, and that has to change. I mean, it's plain and simple. It's got to change if they're gonna do something. But as far as the regular season, Buffalo is still the choice cut right now in the American Football Conference Eastern Division. They've got enough talent to win, and you know they can score a lot of points. They hopefully defensively will be better.
Lost their best linebacker.
Well, I feel like no one's talking about it.
But they get Hamlin back. They get Hamlin back, and they're going to get what's his name. They're going to get the guy they signed from Denver back. So that should help. Yeah, and they re-signed Ed Oliver, so that should be a big help for them. I think the team's going to be fine. I think that they are going to win the division. Wow. And again, it's going to be for them. It's not going to be about the regular season. It's going to be about the playoffs and not getting embarrassed in the playoffs. You know,
the thing that scares me about the Bills is the fact that there was that little rumbling you heard of before the season started. Like it didn't sound like very Billsy, right? You never really hear that stuff coming out of there the last 3 or 4 years with the team.
No, and the other thing I worry about is what is going on with Diggs. Why is he acting so weird about playing?
I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
What is he? Is he miffed at Allen? Is he miffed at the team? What is his problem?
And why are you mad?
What are you so mad at? Are you mad at Allen? Are you mad? Are you mad at their offensive line? Are you mad at their defense? What is it he's so angry about? He's getting paid a lot, so it can't be the money.
Agreed.
I mean, like, look at it's at the Allen and Diggs show. Their offensive line's okay. Like, they lost their best linebacker. Like, Hamlin, I guess he's okay. I mean, he almost died on the field, like, in December, not really that long ago in the grand scheme of things. They didn't address their running game.
They
didn't address defense or offensive line with their first-round draft pick. They took a tight end out of Utah when they already have a good tight end in Dawson Knox.
Dawson Knox is okay. Knox is okay, but Dawson Knox also got hurt a lot last year, and he needs.
Yeah, Gabriel Davis. He scored 5 touchdowns against the Chiefs in that divisional round super game.
Well, throw the ball to get.
He disappointed last year.
Throw the ball to him once in a while.
They don't run the ball.
Throw the ball to him once in a while. It doesn't have to always be Diggs.
Right, but I think there's something to be said about athletes where they don't talk about. All everybody did was talk about the Bills. Last year at this time, the whole world was like, "Here come the Bills! Here come the Bills! Here come the Bills! Here come the Bills!" You ain't hearing a peep. Not many people are talking about the Bills, right?
No, I think more people are like me and be like, "Hey, half these teams that made it last year, especially in a loaded AFC, aren't going to make it this year."
I don't think they're good. I don't think the Bills are going to be one of the teams that doesn't make it though. I think that they're going to be. I think they're going to be fine this year. I like the Jets to come in second. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be huge for them. I think he just got bored in Green Bay. I think he needed to leave. He should have. I mean, he really should have left like 3 or 4 years ago. He should have left. You know, I mean, I think he's a lot happier now. I see him going to all the ball games all the time. He just seems to me looks like he's a very happy guy, and he's in a very happy place now. And I think that he's such a weird guy. I think his happiness is going to translate on the field, and he's going to play well.
If he gets off to a good start, if someone starts questioning what I hope happens, and I could be wrong, but I don't see this as so far-fetched. They start winning games, right? Everybody's fired up. New York loves it. The Jets are winning. Then all of a sudden, they're not scoring by enough points. I can see Aaron Rodgers getting snippet with some of his answers.
Oh, of course he will. That's his personality.
Like Green Bay ain't New York. I don't care. Packers are, yes, they're traditions through the roof. This ain't Green Bay. They don't care who. New York's chewed up a lot bigger stars than you. And my only thing is, if he gets off to a great start and they start like lighting up the scoreboard, oh my gosh, they're going to be amazing, and he's going to love it. And I get what you're saying, because he looks like it's almost like he's going overboard to be like, I'm doing everything I didn't do in Green Bay to look at this. This is what I am. This is
he's putting on the dog and pony show.
But if that goes south, watch out. Like,
right. You can be a smart ass with the Green Bay Gazette or whatever they have out there, because there's one newspaper with one beat writer. You give the New York Post snarky comments or the Daily News snarky comments, you're going to be right on that back page every day, and you're going to be getting roasted.
And they won't.
He won't like that. You're right.
They won't stop.
And they won't let up.
No, they don't stop.
It can be the best marriage in the world, or it can be just like toxic. And I'm hoping for the Dolphins fan. I'm hoping that he wins games, but they're not by enough points, and then he gets snippet, and then they get arguing, and the next thing you know, the Dolphins sneak into the playoffs.
So, Doug, David Roscoe wants you to be the manager of the Angels.
Oh, you don't like Nevin, huh? Phil, I think Phil's doing a pretty good job over there, but I appreciate that, David. I would love that. I would love.
So I have the Jets' schedule here. It's not easy. Buffalo on Monday night at Dallas.
There's no easy schedule between either division we're talking about tonight. We got to play each other.
Right.
There is no easy out here. There's no easy win. There's not what? Think of this. There's probably 3 games where you can honestly say with 85% confidence that you can win that game if you're outside of the Eagles. Right? Like for everybody, us mere mortals that aren't a Super Bowl really contending team, like there's 3 games in the schedule like, okay, with 85% confidence we can win this game. And 2 of them are New England.
Right.
For the Dolphins.
I think
I guess the AFC East plays the AFC West. It looks like.
And the NFC East.
And the NFC East. That's
stay hot.
Depending on Denver, like that could be really tough.
Yeah, the AFC East plays the AFC West this year.
Correct.
Like where the hell are where's the Bucks and where are the Saints?
Yeah.
I mean, why just throw the Bengals in
that division is just pathetic.
It came fast.
Yeah, that division is bad.
So I guess I'm going Jets, Bills, Dolphins. I really have the same thing as you. I just have the Jets and the Bills switched. And the Bills they're certainly good enough to grab one of those 3 wild card slots. I just think if you don't win your division, you can't count on a wild card. You're going to have to get tiebreakers, and you're going to have to get a lot of things to fall your way.
Or you're going to have to be the MIT guy to figure out who makes the wild card this year.
Yeah.
You're going to have some analytical data that it's not going to make any sense at all.
Well, I mean, when you look at wild card teams, I mean, obviously, I think the Bengals are probably even without Burrow for the first month, I think the Bengals are still the team to beat in the Central. You got the Ravens who could definitely be a wild card. The Chargers can be a wild card. You never know with the Broncos. God only knows who's going to show up with them. The Raiders, who the hell knows with them? They're probably going to be garbage. I guess I could probably throw them out. The Titans, I mean, are the Titans good going to be good enough to be a wild card? Because I think Jacksonville wins that division.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have the Steelers. We don't really know, and the Browns, who we don't really know what the deal is going to be with either one of them. I mean, I would think that the Browns would be better.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest X factor in the whole conference.
Yeah, I mean, Watson's going to have a whole training camp now. You know, and yeah, he's going to be playing the whole season, and you know, if he can return to and gets the rust knocked off, and he can return to being the player he was before his suspension, I mean, there's no reason why they can't be real good. Really, the only teams in the AFC that don't look like playoff teams right now that you can definitely throw out are probably the Texans, the Colts, the Raiders, and the Patriots. Really,
the Colts are going to be a disaster. I feel right. So bad for a guy.
Those four. Those are really the only four teams that you can throw out right now.
Right.
Doug, what do you make it? What do you make of Jim Irsay, Doug?
Man, sell the team, man. I just don't like. There's never. There's always some kind of drama around him, isn't there? Just doesn't it feel that way? Like,
yeah.
Like,
well, his father was the same way.
It's constant.
Yeah, his father went and snuck out of Baltimore in the middle of the night. You know, and it's never stopped since then.
Just never.
I mean, the guy the day before training camp opens, or first week of training camp, he opens his big mouth and alienates his best player, who they need because it looks like they're going to start Anthony Richardson, which I feel like Anthony Richardson is either going to be a stud or out of the league in 2 years.
Right, he's a metrics wonder boy, but
he can throw the ball really far and fast, and
you know what that means?
Whatever.
Nothing. That doesn't mean anything.
You're right.
Not accurate.
He might be great, but again, it's about how the scheme you get in the scheme you get drafted into.
And then Jonathan Taylor's has a meeting with them where if you're a smart owner, it'd be like, oh shit, Jonathan Taylor's my best guy. I said something I shouldn't have. Just my bad. I just wasn't thinking, and we love you and we want you to come. Instead, he doubles down on a bad take, which is a big pet peeve of mine. And Jonathan Taylor's like, okay, trade me. Right. Pay me or trade me. And he's like, we're not paying you and you're not trading me. And then Jonathan Taylor goes, okay, my back hurts.
Yep.
See ya.
No,
yeah. By the way, their backup running back, Zach Moss, crashed an ATV, broke his arm. He's out for the season. So now you have no running backs. You invest in an offensive guy in Steichen to be your head coach, who took over the play calling here in Philadelphia, and the Eagles started winning football games. It became a run-first team. Now you don't have Zach Moss because of injury, and you don't have maybe the best running back in the league because your owner's an idiot.
Welcome to Myles Gaskin. Exactly. He'll be a running back.
Is that who they have? They have him?
Oh, that's the fourth-string guy in Miami who will probably get released, which I like him. I actually do like him. I think he's pretty damn good. But my point is, you're going to have to start scourging through the waiver wire, baby. Find them dudes when they start cutting them.
That's like what you said. If Myles Gaskin doesn't make the Dolphins or whatever, he might go start in Indianapolis.
But for sure. That's how all of our guys, like I said, that's how the Dolphins fielded the team when they first hired Flores. It's my gosh, it's like every guy we had, I think there was some crazy number, don't hold me to it. It was almost 88% of our roster was filled in with someone else is releases. And don't get me wrong, we found some guys and they played hard. I don't mind that. That's what makes it so interesting about football. It's again, it's about when you get released. Not much when you get released, it's what and what state and what calendar time you get released, right?
Or NFL free agents that weren't drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Victor Cruz, if you remember him.
Yeah,
he wasn't drafted. He went to UMass and nobody even knew who the hell he was. And he decided because he lived in Patterson, he decided he'd try out with the Giants, and the rest is history. He had a great he had a great training camp, and everybody was like, yeah, big deal. He had a great training camp, and then took it with him on the field.
Correct.
You know, so I mean,
that's the stuff for Hard Knocks for me. Stuff like that. Show me those guys that are like, you know, that were undrafted and have a chip on their shoulder and they outplay everybody else.
Yeah, and go to a college that, you know, basically nobody ever sees on TV.
I think that's harder now than ever before because they don't hit, like you said. They don't hit anymore in practice.
No, that's the problem.
You're going to find out. You're going to find out in some random, like, preseason game that, like, you're going through the motions in. You know, those guys aren't. I actually like preseason football games. I like the fourth quarter when it's like, who is this? Who? Like, and you try to find like that one guy. My buddy and I used to go to the games all the time, the preseason games, and just like, and stay through the whole game. Like, all right, we always try to pick one guy who we thought was like, who was going to make it. Who's your pick to click? We never guessed right, but it shows you I'm not a really good GM. But I thought that was interesting to watch those guys. And those guys are fighting for their lives.
Of course they are.
It's like you do good. If you're been in the league and you get put in the third or fourth quarter, you're supposed to shine, right?
Yeah.
But it's like a lose-lose for those guys because like you should do well. You've been in NFL practices for 2 years, but if you don't do well, you're like, see, it doesn't work. You can't use the whole like, well, it's just a preseason. If you're the player, it's a lose-lose situation for the player.
It's like, remember we interviewed Artis Hicks a few years ago, Brad?
Yes.
And he was undrafted. And he was like, I liked it way better. Like, yeah, I got paid less, but I got to, like, I think he said he was down to the Vikings, the Ravens, and the Eagles. He was like, I want to go to Eagles because our line coach was really good, Juan Castillo, and thought he had a better chance to make the team, although he wouldn't start right away with the Eagles. And then a couple people got hurt, and he started on our Eagles 04 Super Bowl team.
That's what's cool about that is like that we all have our reality shows. We talk about Hard Knocks. To me, that's like everybody, like the quarterback thing that's on Netflix right now, right? They're going to continue that. I want like something like that where like the guy that gets released by the Eagles, but yet as soon as he walks out the door, he's got 4 teams already calling him. And like, it's almost like a mini free agency, right? You get to pick which coach you like, what's your best. Now, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Where you can pick and choose where you want to go, going, okay, look at the depth chart. I have a better chance of playing here. I like this coach. This guy remembers me, whatever it is. I think that those are the stories I want to see. Like those guys, you know, for every Achilles Smith, there's a Victor Cruz, right?
Yep.
You know, third pick that didn't do anything. And then you have a guy that everybody not turned their back on, but they didn't draft him. The next thing you know, becomes, you know, one of the best wide receivers for how many, 5, 7, 8 years, whatever he played. He was phenomenal. So that's the stuff I like watching.
Yeah, but it happens all the time.
For sure. Good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you said, you hit the nail on the head, Doug, when you said it's all depends on the guy in the scheme. If they're in the right scheme on the right team, that's really kind of all it takes, right?
For sure. And I think back to like Jimmy Johnson when he was coached the Dolphins. They asked him, and Marino was still on the team, whatever. And he said, he went on practice and said, there's only one guy that I know has a spot on this team. Zach Thomas was a rookie. I think he was a 5th rounder. Oh, I want to say he was
just win the Hall of Fame.
Right.
He was great player.
3rd or 5th round
player.
But it was like, there's only one guy on the team that has a roster spot, and that's Zach Thomas. And I was like, well, I got to pay attention to the Zach Thomas guy. Next thing you know, he's an NFL Hall of Famer now. But like, I was like, man, like, finally, we got a middle linebacker who rips people's heads off. You know what I mean? Like, I loved it. Like, he line to line, never gave up, busted his butt. But, like, because it wasn't a receiver. It wasn't a quarterback. It was, you know, I just love the fact. I love those kind of stories. Not to say that Zach Thomas is one of those, but like, he was a 5th round pick. And the 5th round is not exactly where you think you're going to get a starter from, right? You don't think you're going to sneak a Hall of Famer in the 5th round. It happens, but it's not really, you know, that's not how you draw it up. But that type of stuff, those stories like that, I love watching because you look at Zach Thomas, obviously he's jacked and he's fast, but like he wasn't overly large when he played. He just he was a freaking, like he was Lawrence Taylor. And I love that stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that I like watching. Like I cheer for the underdog. I don't care about hype. I care about substance.
All right. Any loose ends You guys want to touch before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about Rondé Barber, and I love what he said at the Hall of Fame when he made the Hall of Fame. He gave full credit to Mike Tomlin because Mike Tomlin was an assistant coach back then in Tampa Bay, and when he got drafted, he figured he was going to be like maybe a second or third string player. He never thought he was going to be that good. He thought he was lucky to get in, and he kind of implied that he was lucky that he got drafted and got drafted by Tampa Bay. He said that Tomlin kept telling him, "You're going to be a superstar. You're going to be a superstar. You're going to be a superstar." And after his first year, he finally believed it. And he said, and he completely gave all the credit for him getting to the point he was to Tomlin for developing him and getting him in the right scheme, and they kind of devised the defense to support him because Tomlin just loved the guy and thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I just want to give Rondé Barber some props for giving somebody credit. You don't see that enough in sports, and I kind of like that. That really that kind of made me feel very good about that.
Then on the other hand, did you see? I didn't watch any of the Hall of Fame game, but I did see DeMarcus Ware attempt to sing the national anthem.
I did not see that. I need to Google
that. Yeah,
it
was a chuckle. Yeah, Google.
That wasn't pretty.
It was like borderline disrespectful.
He tried. He tried.
It
was something he really wanted to do.
Something like that, because I can't sing a lick, and there's no way.
But I'm looking there. I'm like, does this guy think he's good singing? Like, is this a joke? Is this a parody thing? Like, it's just because he's because he went in. I'm pretty sure, right, over the weekend, DeMarcus Ware. So he's the best singer of the guys that got in. So he got to sing national. I don't know.
I'll leave you with this: Jose Ramirez 1, Tim Anderson nothing. So
big time. How about Tim Anderson? Tim Anderson got 6 games and J-Rom got 3.
A whole other show, Bo.
And J-Rom also only and J-Rom appealed, so he's playing.
I know tonight. You have skeletons about the White Sox. I can read between the lines when you talk about it.
I actually know some. I managed against Timmy on the way up, and trust me, he came a long way from being. He couldn't hit a breaking ball to save his life when it's in Double-A, early, young. I mean, athletically gifted through the roof, obviously. But there were some rumblings about fighting managers back in Double-A, and
fight his manager. Wow.
And it's there's some stuff that
he's lucky. He's lucky that they broke it up with him and Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson would have killed him.
Right. And
I mean, he would have broken him in 2.
I just don't. I think you can be a little more humble than what he is, and I just think it's funny. The game has a way of finding people that need to be humbled, and it's found them. It's found them this year. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. So.
It kind of reminded me of Odor when he punched out Batista.
Beautiful. Look, I loved Jose. Was one of the nicest guys in the world, but he had it coming, and
he did that bat flip. You knew something was going to happen with him.
Ramirez, I think I always liked watching Ramirez play. I just really enjoy the way he goes about his game, and the quotes he had about why it made him upset, it just made me even more of a fan. You gotta love it. So you gotta. I've been dealing with my mom's 80th birthday party with 35 family members here. So me watching sports for the last 5 days have been almost non-existent. But I did catch that one, and I was like, man, I step away for 2 days and I miss 12 punches in the last decade. I just totally missed it. Totally missed it.
Yeah, they fought for a while too. That wasn't like one of your classic baseball.
Pedro Gafol's in it, the manager's in it. I'm like, man, this is a good one.
Usually they just dance.
Yep, this was no dancing.
I don't even know. So what do you think? J-Rom didn't like him standing over him like that, trying to get the tag in. Did he say something?
I don't think it really had anything to do with the tag. I think it was just like him staying over him, and I think that's something that's been from the reading what Jose said about his quotes, and he's been disrespecting the game for a long time. I think it goes back to some of the antics on the field and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, there's just, some players rub you the wrong way. It's just the way it is. I'm like, they're not bad guys. You just don't like the way they do things.
That's understandable. There's plenty of
it seems like Tim Anderson, no one likes the way he does things, though.
It's just funny not funny. It's ironic how he said some comments a couple years ago, and his game has gone downhill since. And the whole there's always a show. The team has been garbage for a couple years now, and it's like, they made the playoffs I think a couple years ago. I'm not quite sure, but it's like they're always look when Tony La Russa goes 81-81. There's some severe issues going on with that. Like AJ Brzezinski said on his podcast, they asked him what he would do, and he said, "Blow it the F up at the trade deadline." I'm like,
they would.
I'm not talking about just that. The players. There's some people in the front office that need to go too. That they're still living on the 2005, and the 2005 World Series fell in their lap because of AJ Brzezinski.
Yeah, and then I'm reading they have Tim Anderson, Jimenez, and Moncada who just don't get it. They're just not.
Pedro Gaffol, who's a wonderful human being. No nonsense. And you start to hear all this stuff now about there's no rules and, there's never
been. Middleton killed the White Sox yesterday.
But, when has there been rules? There were 0 rules when Ozzie was there. There wasn't a single one. And they won a World Series. But they've been living off that. I remember Terry Ryan, I'll leave you with this. Terry Ryan never said a derogatory comment about anything or anyone. A respectful man through hell and high water. Don't quote me on the year, but it was the trade deadline, and the White Sox went out and got, I think, Kenny Lofton, Sandy Alomar Sr., and Robbie Alomar Jr., I think was the 3 they went and got. And Terry Ryan came out in the paper and goes, "Those are 3 great trades if it was 8 years ago." And I was we were like, what? That's like Terry dropping the Jimmy Superfly Snuka elbow from the top rope back in the day. I was like, Terry, you tell us not to pop off and you drop that one? Because Robbie Alomar is one of the best second basemen ever played. I thought he was you're the best in the history.
He was.
He wasn't exactly a slouch either. But I'm like, damn, you just dropped that on him. I was like, damn. Remember, we're all like, yeah, Terry, get him. That was awesome. That was Terry's way of jabbing at him. These are great trades. If it was 8 years ago, we're all like, dude. It was just Terry's only disrespectful thing he's ever said. We loved it. But they've been a train wreck. I don't know how their GM, now he's not the GM now. I think he's Williams. That guy's.
Ken Williams is still their GM?
He's still there?
He's the director of, he's above that now. He's above the GM, whatever the director. He's still involved. I know that. He's a freaking disaster. I can tell you some severe stories about. He's traded players because of certain situations that have gone on with their significant other because they wouldn't give him the time of day, and he's traded players because of it.
I remember they traded for Ken Griffey Jr. I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of his career, and they were asking that guy Kenny's or Griffey's 40 years old. Is he gonna play center field, or are you gonna DH, or is he gonna? And he looked at the reporters right in the face. He's like, well, center field's the easiest outfield position to play.
I was when you're 42, it's not.
He
hasn't played center in, 8 years, 10 years. I don't think I ever saw him as center in Cincinnati. He always played right.
Yeah, that was his position.
They don't get me started. I was never a fan favorite of the when the White Sox, because they always hated me, and then they got AJ, and that kind of changed it because AJ was public enemy number 1 there, and then he's the fan favorite there. Which publicity, I get it. They love him, and as they showed, he won a championship there. But they just don't. They lack that gritty, tough when they had it with Canerco and Creedy and, you know, the list goes on and on. Canerco, AJ, they had some dudes. They had some, you know, Rowan. They had some like guys that knew how to play. You know, Jermaine Dye. You know, the list goes on. They had
El Duque was on that team too.
They've gotten away from, you know, El Duque. Freddie Garcia was phenomenal. Don Garland, Burley. Those, you know, they had some they had characters, but they had character, and they knew how to win. And that team was a no holds barred, and they got away from that. Now look at them. Now they're a train wreck.
Yeah, they're bad.
With the same front office, like how do you stay that long?
I don't know. Ask Hal Steinbrenner how he can keep Cashman and Boone so long.
Here we go. I thought we were going to make it a whole episode without talking about
the whole no.
Yeah, I don't want to start. Yeah, let's leave that alone.
A whole new episode next week.
Yes.
Thank you, our great sponsors. Thank you to everyone who liked, commented, and shared our show. He's Doug Mankiewicz. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.